Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hopefully you are doing well. Welcome to the live stream. Now, let me just... No, that's weird. All right. Well, anyways, let me look at my feed real quick. Make sure that everything is coming through as expected. Should be. I'm getting output on Inside vMix, and so that should all be good. However, all right, let's have a little listen. Yay, okay, I'm there. Just going to prop that up on my charger. And Randy, I'm sorry that you've already had to hit the road and leave, but hey, we've got Angus, and so the show will continue. Thanks for hanging out. Hey, good morning. For once I get to catch a live show. I've been on tour, but I have a couple of days at home before we head out again. Silence. I broke it? Oh. Wait, what? No. That should be full volume. Everything's at zeros. Should not well, I can double it, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to turn off the auto mixing function because I don't know why that's on. You think I'm low? Well, I can turn me up. That's no problem. All right. That's a whole lot more. That's like 5 or 6 more decibels. So check. I can hear here. I will I'll wait and listen. But I've got like 30% volume here. And I can hear it clearly. So I hope that that's maybe not on my end. I don't know. So double check, Angus. Let me know what you hear, because I definitely am pushing the limits inside vMix. That's for sure. All right. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay. Well, I'm not too sure what's going on there. Check your YouTube volume, because that seems like I'm sending a lot. Now, granted, let me look over here on my channels. I'm having all sorts of issues with the compressor's off, gate's off, everything's basically off. I'm not too sure. Yeah, that's just straight normal. Everything is the same as it usually is. So yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what to tell you. Anyway, I've been having issues with this. No, it's okay now. It was totally dead at the start, though. All right, I'll have to go back and watch it and see, because I didn't really do much here to change it. I just turned it up a little bit on the output of the 286S, so I'm not too sure what's happening there. Anyway, I've been having issues with this microphone connecting to this computer like all the time. So in previous shows, I've talked about how I would put the computer to sleep and come back the next day and go to do something online, a meeting or this or something, and I would not be able to connect this microphone. Just like it seemed to disconnect on sleep. So it was really annoying, and I have been monkeying around with it, and I think I've figured it out, but it feels, because I've got so many inputs I'm not using on this computer, it feels like it's more complicated than it needs to be. But I think I've got it now to where when the computer goes to sleep, it mutes the microphone channel, and I have to hit the unmute button, which is F7 on my keyboard, in order to get it to work. But that works maybe 60% of the time. The only other alternative is to totally restart the machine. It's really annoying when I start everything and then realize that the microphone's not working. So that did not happen today, thankfully, but I have been having issues with it, and it's been rather annoying trying to figure that out, and like just getting the path to work every time. Something this is not in the show notes, but something I added to my home network is a cloud controller, so that I could kind of control things, update things, and it all be available online. And I went with the Omada TP-Link. I've slowly moving over to their managed network situation. And, in the past, my Bird Dog days, I would say, don't buy TP-Link for NDI stuff. But for home network, it works just fine. So I don't do NDI across my network. I don't do Dante across that network. I have a 4250 that I do that for, and that's been working seamlessly. If you recall, which we will talk about this week, I've been doing an intercom installation over Dante, and that is all run over 4250s, multiples now at the soundstage. So happy with how that's working. That is still my recommendation for anything AV over IP. Just get a 4250, invest in that side of the network, and there will be a lot less problems going forward. So anyway, so I've integrated over to this cloud controller, and it's actually been really nice, although last night it reset my entire network. So I got home on I got home on Tuesday from my trip out west and plugged it in and jacked up the network. So I've had 24 hours to basically get it back functioning. Everything is back kind of the way that it was. I have a lot of DHCP reserved IP addresses. Again, previous shows would tell you that is par for the course for me, but you had to go in and basically reset it all up and reconfigure the whole network, which was fine, but I made some blunders along the way, and that slowed me down a fair bit. So lessons learned. Anyway, in light of that, I have been tempted to get rid of Nighthawk. As many of you recall from previous shows, as some of you might recall, I have a Nighthawk AP system. It used to be my router, and then I just got rid of that because it was horrible, and I just use it as my AP, Wi-Fi broadcast around the house, and that works a lot better. Still not perfect, and the app is extremely slow. So TP-Link, the Omada, whatever they call it, that brand, which is kind of residential business level, have several access points that integrate with the controller. And so it's a Unify style management, not quite as user interface driven as Unify is, but this has been a pretty good setup so far. And you just go in and say, this is what I want my Wi-Fi network to be, and plug in the access points, and it will do it for you. So I'm a little bit more, what's the word? I'm a little bit more inclined to use something that's integrated like this, that you can buy a couple of access points. Now, what's interesting about these access points is for $10 more, they go up to the next level. And so the ones that I was looking at are like $79, but the ones that I found this morning are Wi-Fi 7, and they are like $100. And so for $20 more, there's actually a model between them. But for $20 more, basically, you're doing 2.5 gigs network ports. Everything's PoE, which I don't know if I would be using the PoE function in my home, but I'm about to extend my network to a new office space if that ever gets built, which is going to be out in a second garage, and I'm going to build an actual office, put up walls and drywall and do a bunch of things out there. So that is on the horizon. And one of the questions is, okay, how am I getting the network out there? Well, I'm going to run fiber, of course, because of course I'm going to run fiber. And I'm going to run fiber out there, dual fiber for redundancy's sake, but I'll probably light them both up and then connect two of these managed switches that I have together. So that will be quite the project. It'll be pretty fun to do, but it will make everything on the same network. Logically, all the devices will be right next to each other. And then what do I do for access points out there? So I'm going to need a Wi-Fi network out there. And I think when we transition over to that space, I'll probably end up buying something like this. So I've kind of given up on Netgear's Nighthawk. It's better when it's just in AP mode. So if you're looking at those units from previous videos, I can confirm that it is a far better access point when you just require it to be an access point and not a router. So you can put them in that mode and then they work just fine. But they tend to, kind of still struggle. I've got probably 50 devices connected to the network, and various, hardwire and wireless. It works okay. It's just not amazing. And I kind of just at the point I'm giving up. So, Saint Just 88, what's going on? How are you? Thanks for popping in over on Twitch. This is the way, fiber for the win. I agree. And just straight up LC connectors, multi-mode fiber, where we're not needing to do any great distances. It'll be less than 100 feet. So from switch to switch, going all the way outside, I'm going to run conduit out to the, actually out to the office space, and then have my network racks, which are sitting here in the bonus room right now, having them moved out there, and that's where I'm going to house all of that equipment. So I'm going to eventually need to get a new TP-Link switch, which I'm probably going to, for out there. Okay, so I've got a switch here that is a Netgear, a very old Netgear switch. And I'm thinking about retiring it or moving it to a secondary function and then bringing on something else that talks natively to my current system. So let me just punch this in here. I want a 1U switch. It needs to be PoE. Doesn't really need to be humongous. The switch, the Netgear switch that I have in here, I think is 24 ports. I'm not using practically any of them, so I don't need that. But I do want fiber ports on it, obviously, for obvious reasons. So at least one. Now, they do have a multi-gig, like a mini version of it, but I don't really want that. Where is the one that I was looking at earlier? That won't break my bank. Something like this, I think. Let me share this with you. So this is 250 watts on the budget. I'm not really using it for any of that, but it's just going to be an SPF network. 16 PoE ports is fine. It looks like they're all PoE minus these two uplinks. But then these fiber ports on the end, which for some reason it won't show me. There it is. Those fiber ports, which are 19 and 20, we can patch into the fiber coming from the house. And then I'll have a small fiber switch also on the back end. So, and all of these switches that are managed, that are under this brand, all show up in the controller just like any switch would, like a Unify system or something like that. So this seems to be a little bit more economical. Again, I've got rack space, and so I kind of want to get a rack mount unit. I don't think these units are rack mountable, and so it would just be kind of like a loosey-goosey switch, and I don't want that. I want to be able to put it in the rack space and then make it look pretty. So that's the plan. So, all right, that's, part of the, that's the future projects coming up, and, what we're going to end up doing, moving to a new space. Now, it's going to cost like an arm and a leg to get all that done. So I'm not looking forward to paying the price, but we're going to chip away at it over time. And it's not going to be something that I'm going to have to do right away. So that'll be nice. Okay, so today's show, let's get into things here because we definitely want to cover what it is I've been up to over the past week. So last week we talked about an intercom system run over Dante audio. And we had a bit of an education as to how to make that all happen and whether or not it's going to be a workable solution. I think in the age of ones and zeros, with networking data going the way that it is, doing an intercom system is far more economical over Dante than buying a ClearComm system or doing something like a wireless headset system like the one that we were running at the soundstage. And I think it's a better investment for your money. Long term, I think you're going to get far more return for the price you pay, and you can pretty much do it under 10 grand. I think at this point we have spent $4,000 plus the additional $2,500 or whatever that we spent on the old system. So I am ready to sell that Ceramonic system. I don't want it anymore. it's not going to be used anymore, and we might keep it as a backup for 1 or 2 months, but then it's ready to go on the market to get rid of it. Just haven't been very satisfied with it, and we've talked about that ad nauseum, so I'm not going to do any more review of that system. But the new one, the Dante system, we ran for the first time on Sunday, and we were able to hear everybody clearly. The program was piped into the system, albeit not the way that I wanted to do it, but we are going to fix that this week. Basically what happened was I purchased the wrong Dante AVIO adapter. I purchased the AES one, and on an X32 full-size board, there is only an AES output. There's not an input. So that little AES 2 channel is a digital, basically AES is a digital signal, and I didn't have the input that I needed. So we had to return that one, and we've purchased one input, one output. Each of them are $160. So the price difference was about $40 by the end of the day. But that will then give us program out so that the guys in the headsets can listen to the show and whatever it is that we're doing on stage. And then my sound guy is going to have an input with the technical chatter. And so he will be able to listen in to whatever it is that we're talking about while he is running sound at the board. The difference being, though, he doesn't need a microphone. He's literally standing right next to me. He doesn't need a microphone. He just needs to hear kind of what it is that we're saying. And the other part of that is he does not need to hear program again, because he'll be listening to program, the live program right off the board. So if he wants to listen in to what it is that we're saying, he can solo our channel and listen in. But otherwise, he doesn't have to do that. So it's a good way to integrate him straight on the board. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he'll be on the intercoms. He'll just be able to listen in and see what it is that the technical crew is talking about. Yeah, I recently pieced together, this is from Angus, I recently pieced together a comm system from eBay parts for under $1,000, a whole bunch of Pro Intercom BP1s, matching headsets, and power supplies. Well done. That's very impressive. All analog, all used, but all fully functional. So, to follow up on that, our system is actually partially purchased on eBay as well, mostly because I didn't know if it was going to be, if it was really going to work, because I was inventing this based on videos that I had watched on YouTube. And lo and behold, Dante is fairly flexible, so you can make it work. And quite frankly, I recommend it if you're trying to get something. Like the first phase of purchase was under $4,000. And it's all Dante, which means that not only was I got all my channels that I wanted, but I also have an additional 60 channels of Dante that I can use, inputs and outputs that I can route, which I'm not using right now, which means that we could buy the X32 Dante card and put all 32 channels, which again, we're not using on the soundboard, but all 32 channels, I could route all of those into this Symmetrics unit and still have more to spare. So the flexibility that we've been given just by buying this unit, and granted, we found it's an older unit. It's a Symmetrics Radius. Okay, the current one is an NX version, and there's a previous one as well called the EX, I think. The NX version is the current one that if you were to purchase it from Symmetrics or from their sales partners, that's the one that you would get. But we have it with Dante. And ours we picked up for under $700 on eBay. And that unit normally goes for like $3,500. So checking out eBay is a great idea. If you can find one that's just been pulled out of a system that they're not using anymore, they just want to liquidate, you can definitely grab that and make good use of it. So we fired that up. I configured it here at the shop, in my bonus room, and then did a little tour of it last week, so you can check that out. The belt packs are brand new. They're from Studio Tech Incorporated, and they're crystal clear. They're amazing. The only complaint that I have is I am bringing in analog channels from the talkback ports on Blackmagic cameras. So the Blackmagic Studio converters are outputting in the talkback Ethernet ports analog audio, and I spliced those out and integrated those with the 12 by 8 on the Radius. they're just a little noisy. Like there's some background hiss when those microphones are on, but they have the choice to do push to talk. Actually, I've trained the sound guys that we had, sound people, because my daughter was one of the sound crew, who's 11. So it's pretty awesome to have her on the team. I just trained them to push to talk. So there's a little customizable F button, the F1, 2, and 3. So F3, they just hold it down and talk to me and let go, and then the microphone turns off. So it was stinking awesome, and it worked really well. We spent most of Friday. We went over there. I was there at 8:30 on Friday last week, and we didn't leave till 4:30. So that's the first day like that I have done at the soundstage all day working on stuff. Every belt pack has nasty scratch volume pots. Quick spray with with Dianet. I can't say that. We just took care of that. Yeah, I love these little Dante belt packs that we bought. These are the 372A belt packs from Studio Technologies. They're slick. They give you 2 channels. So technically you could do program in one and audio in another if you didn't want to do like a ducker or something like that. But the way that we do it is we do left and right ear, and I put a ducker on the technical crew party line, and that allows us to lower the volume of whatever's happening on stage, and my voice typically is the one that dominates that. So it's pretty great. Deoxit is the way we say that. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. If you haven't heard of it, please look it up. It is incredible. All right. Let's have a quick little look. Deoxit spray is a fast-acting deoxidizing solution designed to clean, lubricate, and improve connectivity of all metal connectors and contacts. Oh. Let's just take a quick little tour over to Sweetwater and have a little look-see. So for $20, we can get contact cleaner Deoxit D5. Contact cleaner, lubricant, great stuff. Stereo sounds amazing after being on the shelf for over 20 years. That's pretty cool. He just sprays it in there, eh? Works great. Pots are quiet and very smooth. Can't beat free shipping. Cleaned up all of extremely loud and very annoying crackling from dirty pots in my Mackie spot monitors. I didn't have to open the unit. I simply pulled off the knobs, all 7 of them, and sprayed simply seeped down to the exposed pots. No noise whatsoever. Love if I used it on all 13 of my pedals. True tone power supply bricks. You might want to cover to avoid overspray. I love the clear and quiet sounding results of this product. Well, that is pretty cool. I will probably pick that up one of these days. I was actually having oxidization on my Mackie speakers ages ago, and I took them in to get like professionally cleaned, and it was $80, but I knew these guys and I knew their work was going to be good. So they took them apart, cleaned up the contacts. They actually redid some of the soldering because they're like, it's just crappy, like crappy manufacturing solder. So they were like, we've permanently fixed the problem for you, which was kind, because I really like these speakers. Although, so I have these Mackie 4-inch speakers that are just like monitors for my computer, and they're not anything amazing. But they're nice. They're decent sound or whatever. But I am finding out the limit of these speakers. So I need to change, I think. I'm going to move my Mackies to my editing suite for DaVinci. And I'm going to bring back my Monsoon speakers, which are plugged into the studio. I'm going to bring those back for my computer because the Monsoons have a far greater range in terms of audio, and so I should be able to turn up the volume a fair bit louder with the Monsoons, which are out of, they don't make them anymore, but they are sweet. Monsoon PC speakers. Let me see if I can find like a picture of these. Yes, here they are. This is the set that I bought. Come on, I just want to see this picture. Come on, man. Hold, please. Open picture in new browser. Yoink. Okay. These are the speakers that I have, and I know they don't look amazing, but they're actually, this company used to be, or I don't know if they're still around or not, they used to be a car speaker company, like a high fidelity car speaker company. And so it has a little subwoofer that's like 4 or 5 inches. But then these like flat, they're supposed to like match your flat panel. You know, this is when LED screens were first coming out for computers, monitors. And so they're like flat panel speakers. But man, they have an amazing range. They don't make them anymore. I bought them on a recommendation from a guy at a school that I was going to, and he was like, "Oh man, if you can spare it, you know, you should buy these speakers." And I have had them for almost 20 years. I think I bought them in 2003, maybe 2004, off of Newegg. Everybody remember Newegg? Newegg.com. Yeah, they're pretty awesome. So I didn't know what I was buying at the time, but man, I saved up every penny I had and purchased these, which wasn't much, but back in 2003, for a kid that couldn't work off campus, I was stuck with on-campus jobs. I had to save up my pennies. But man, these things were so stinking good, and they're still good. They're here. They do have. Maybe I should get some of that spray, because when you change the volume, the contacts are jacked up. But I have integrated them. They used to have like an inline volume sensor, like a volume thing that you can change it, but I eliminated that because it just wasn't working. Yeah, that spray is so good. Guaranteed that just spray them all with deoxit. Are those ribbon tweeters? You know what? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I have not done much research on. I haven't. The tale of the Monsoon speakers resurrected. Somewhere in 2003, I bought a set of Monsoon. Story time with John. At a computer show, I bought these Monsoon speakers. It was an impulse buy, and I paid $50. They're great sounding speakers, but man, the amp was extremely noisy. Generally, they were junk. I love the whole range of these Monsoon speakers. That was back in the day when a lot more companies were taking computer speakers seriously, and they were one of the top companies in the running, if you ask me. I ended up with a Pro Media over the Monsoons, but those speakers were super influential. Cyber Acoustics still makes knockoffs of them. This was 4 years ago, where they use a regular round driver in one part of the speaker, and then they just toss extra plastic up on the angle to make it look like a flat panel. And the sound is coming from when there isn't anything there. I remember Monsoon speakers in my Pontiac Grand Am GT. It was a premium upgrade. I remember a buddy of mine in high school had his GT, and that Monsoon logo made it seem like you could really party in the plastic fantastic GM. Are these? I think these are called PM14s. I'm just looking for several models were made. I'll have to look. I don't know what the model is of mine. But anyways, there's a lot of love for these Monsoon speakers. Pretty fantastic stuff. Deoxit will change your life. It takes very little to do a good job. Oh yeah, by the way, today's show is not brought to you by Tim Hortons Coffee. And again, I'm not using my Ember mug. I haven't gotten my sponsorship deal. But I should use my Ember mug because this is the end of the pot of coffee. This is cup number 3 or 4 this morning. But I've changed the way that I eat substantially this year. It started back in February, early February, and coffee is a big part of the diet now. So coffee, a little bit of fat in the morning, we'll say, and it kind of gets me off to the right start. So good times, but coffee is definitely something I'm drinking most. And that reminds me. I'll do that later. But anyways, coffee is a part of the diet, which is great because that aligns perfectly with my life goals of drinking all the coffee. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks, Nightbot. Appreciate that. All right, let's keep going here. So, intercom system. We got to use it on Sunday, and it's a little restricting just because I don't have. I need at least 2 more boxes. I need another one in the booth with me. So, and the cable is not done yet, so I gotta do that. But I need to put another one in the booth with me, and I need to put another one out by the presentation software. So we use ProPresenter 7 for all of our slides and lyrics and scriptures and everything. So usually I have 2 people out there anymore, thankfully, because one of them has returned. But I'm training people, and in order to train people, we need to be able to talk. And the new headphones and everything are closed-backed headphones, so it would be helpful if the person that's being trained or the person that's helping training could hear into our system as well. And then when the training stuff is done, because we don't train every week, when training is done, then that box can be moved down the row to also my sound guy, who then goes down and checks all of the streaming statuses and chats and all of that stuff, and he kind of manages some things online. So it'd be great if he could throw a headset on, and then I could tell him, hey, we're 3 minutes out, you need to come back to the soundboard. So that's all happening slowly. I need 2 more boxes, 2 more headsets. I think I have 1 headset already, but I need 2 more boxes, and then everything is in place. And the only issue that I think I've run into is when Symmetrix restarts. So if you do a power cycle or you do an update, you have to go back into Dante Controller and relink your devices for the outputs for Symmetrix. Now it makes sense, right? Because if you change something inside the system, then the inputs and outputs change, and so you need to go back in to Controller and relink them. But we set it all up on Friday, and then I went in on Sunday, and everything worked. I didn't have to go in and change anything in Controller. I did go verify that it was all still working. But I put the headset on. Everyone was able to hear me. Everyone was able to talk back to me, so that was really important. Is there a base station of the Dante Intercom rig hardware? I hate directing with a headset on. Is there a base station for the... Yes. So also, is there a wireless option for the belt packs? So so 2 things. So there is a base station option. The company Studio Technologies Incorporated, studio-tech.com, they primarily make Dante interfaces for Dante for sports, meaning that they have the little podium microphone that you could press a button and have party line 1, party line 2, party line 3. And so when you want to talk to party line 1, you just press a button and talk. And most production directors, with the exception of churches, most production directors are going to be in a closed room. They're not going to be in the main room like we are. They're going to be in a separate room where they can talk full volume and no one's going to hear, because they're looking at all the video feeds on multi-viewers and giving direction to their camera ops and all of that, right? So instead of wearing a headset, you could then have a little Dante microphone, and then you could have the talkback coming through monitors in that room. So that would be ideal, is to get your headset off if you're doing production or whatever position you're in. If you're in an enclosed space, maybe you're in a trailer, maybe you're in a room, that you could just use a little tabletop stand with a microphone, and then when you push to talk, which is what I was doing on Sunday, the previous system, the Ceramonic system, you mute it by flipping the microphone up. Well, the HyperX headsets has that feature, but we don't need it because I was finding that I would put the belt pack on and I would just press the talk button anytime I wanted to talk and then release it. And when I released it, then the ducker would bring the audio back. So I was intentionally, turning on my microphone and turning it off with one hand and then switching the show with the other. And that worked really well. That was actually made a lot more sense. With Ceramonic, it's basically if your microphone's down, you're on, which was a problem for our camera ops because they're on the floor. And because it's a community of people, they were constantly interacting with folks before and after service. And so if their microphone was down, we were hearing their conversations, and that wasn't working. So now, although they're tethered to the cameras, okay, because they plug directly into the cameras, because they're tethered to the cameras, they can't walk around with their headsets on, but also they have to push to talk, meaning that I'm not going to hear their conversations anymore, which is a big advantage to the way that we're operating. Now, are there wireless options for the belt packs? I haven't seen the wireless options, and also I'm not too sure how that would work with Dante. I have a couple of things happening here in this installation. And the first is, yes, is there a wireless option where people can walk around and connect to my network via a wireless transmitter? I haven't seen anything like that. I don't really need it, to be honest with you. It's the way that we're operating. So I haven't seen you set up an internal or a hidden access point. You connect those devices to the Dante network because everything is with the studio technology is designed to be a one cable plug-in. So you run it from a PoE, a 4250 that's running PoE, and it powers the unit, provides the amp for the microphone, all that sort of good stuff. So I haven't, truthfully, Stephen, I haven't done any navigating or looking around for that option because I don't need it, but I haven't seen one either. And so I'd be interested to know if those options are out there, but also I don't know if that's going to line up with the speed requirements that Dante has in terms of latency. You might get drop packets with something like that. Our broadcast control room is separated. It's an old former school projection booth, so I can use a squawk and mic, but the operators are mostly fully remote, and so they would need a wireless. I see. So I haven't seen one. I don't see one on the website. I think I would have come across that given how much navigating on their website I've done. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means that I don't know of it. The other thing, though, is the amount of clarity, like the fidelity sound of this system compared to the ones that we're coming from is night and day, especially these Dante packs. You click that button and it's crystal clear when people are talking to you on the belt packs. Now, on the Blackmagic cameras, it's actually different. And I need to, at NAB next year, we're going to ask Blackmagic about that and say, look, when I push to talk, it's going into an analog system. The microphones it's not very clear. Like, it's not a nice, clean system. It seems to have a lot of background noise. Not static, not interference, just background noise. It just doesn't sound nice and clean like the Dante belt packs. And there's probably a very good reason for that, but I'd like to know if I'm doing it wrong, let me know. I'll fix it. I'll change it. I suppose I could rig up an analog interface to and from Dante to an old school wireless intercom rig. Yes. Okay, so in the Symmetrics interface, you can do an analog out into XLR, and Studio Technology makes that product. So you could go Dante to XLR interface, and then XLR party line in and out into your Clearcom or whatever wireless rig that you're using, and then it's all the same. So that's one of the beautiful things is you can actually cross-integrate really easily with Dante interfaces or with the analog in and outs on the back of the Symmetrics unit. So whatever your requirements are, it is possible to do that, just not this Ceramonic headset stuff that we've got going on, because it's not that the audio isn't good. It's that the rest of the product is lackluster. And so that's why I don't want to use it anymore, and that's why we're going to sell it. But there are options. Okay, enough about the Dante rig. That was kind of the secondary thing. I went out west on Sunday afternoon. We did our production on Sunday morning. Had all this great experience with the intercom system. I'm waiting for some feedback from my tech crew on that. I sent the messages and didn't hear anything. And then I went out to lunch with my family and some of the folks from the church. And then after that, I went to the airport. My wife dropped me off at the airport, and I took a 4:50 flight out west, and we chased the sun across the country. First, I went to Phoenix and then stayed in Phoenix for a few hours and then flew out to Portland, Oregon. The video shoot that we did took place in Washington, Vancouver, Washington. All right, not Vancouver, British Columbia, but Vancouver, Washington. And so I went across the country, spent some time in airports, as I can share with you. Spent some time in airports. This is over in Phoenix. I took Southwest. They did a pretty great job, although I can see the changes coming. Not a big fan of Southwest changing their plans when it comes to the free bags and the open seating. They're about to nickel and dime us to death, just like anyone else does. And then we did a live shoot on Monday. I stayed in Portland at a very basic hotel, but great for just one guy without his family traveling, fairly inexpensive. And then I got picked up by our on-air talent, and he drove me over to his place. We set up in his house, and we did a video shoot. And so here is a photo from that shoot. His name is Josh, and we did some basic lighting, and I was using a Pocket 4K camera, Blackmagic camera. And this is the conversation actually happening in real time. So that's our soundstage in Brentwood. That photo was taken by a friend of mine, my other technician, who was at the soundstage with our keynote, and then I was with Josh over in Washington. So pretty amazing that we were able to send audio and video back. We used the Rode Wireless Pro with the 32-bit float. I didn't need that recording, but I did record it locally. I also recorded the whole thing locally in case we had any drop frames or any issues with sending the video back via Blackmagic to Blackmagic Web Presenter back to the soundstage. But I did not have any issues. I was able to start this transfer that afternoon and sent it over to my studio computer here in the office. And when I got home, actually then when I went back to the hotel, I started color correcting. And so did a little preliminary work at the hotel, went out to dinner, came back, watched 3 Lord of the Rings movies, and then had to end early because I've seen those videos before and those films before, and then went to bed because I had an early morning flight back to Denver and then home to Tennessee. So that was a busy day. The next morning was bright and early. This is the sun rising in Portland, and got on 2 more Southwest flights and came on home. So that was a really great trip. And the news is that the system that we designed here on the show, that I put together, worked magnificently. And I was able to ship it across the country in checked baggage for $35 away. Oh, nuts. I need to put that on I just realized I need to also put that as an additional charge. Hang on one second. All right, sorry. I have to get that done because it's like been hanging over me since I got back. Okay, so I was able to check a bag that was $35. That was pretty good because if I was going to ship this rig out there via USPS, UPS, or FedEx, it was going to cost me close to $200 each way. So I'll take $70 round trip any day so that I can send it out. And Southwest is pretty good about tracking your luggage. It shows you when it was taken off the plane, put on the plane, if it's headed to baggage claim, all of that stuff. So I was able to track that. Of course, I put an air tag in the bag, so it did check in. It pinged under each of the planes every time. That was very handy, a kind of secondary self-assurance that it was on its way. And yeah, that worked really well. So I was happy with the way that turned out. And the video itself came across beautifully. So we had about 100 up, 100 down or more in Washington. We did a speed check before I went out there. And then we sent that video across, and we did not have any sort of issues. I pressed the on-air button, and it came on right away. We send streaming medium. If you are familiar with the Web Presenter product, it basically, you can pick high, medium, or low. We sent streaming medium, and that worked just fine, which averages between 4 to 6 megs a second. So pretty cool. That sounds like what I'm going to try. Thanks for the idea. Oh, you are very welcome. It's pretty great. I love this Dante intercom system. It's so flexible now. Far more flexibility than we've ever had or ever expected to have. Okay, so the video was perfect. The audio recorded perfectly. I did finally get a audio channel and a video channel all independently recorded. So Cam 1, which is our primary camera at the soundstage, recorded on the ISO with mic 1. So we ran a mix bus with just Patrick's microphone out of mix bus 9 and into the microphone mic 1 recording port on the ISO. And so when I hit record, it records Patrick's video on channel 1 and his microphone on mic 1. And then I sent across the video from Washington, and that came in on another channel on the ISO, and the audio is married to that SDI channel. So it gets recorded separately as a separate file. But now I have 2 audio channels independent of each other. And what's great about that is obviously now you can manipulate each of the sounds. I didn't really have to, by the way, but you can manipulate each of the sounds so that you can be sure that they're balanced, but that they're loud enough, that they are the same volume. It worked out really well. In contrast to what we did when I was in Michigan early in last month, when I was in Michigan, we were sending it all across and recording program. Well, I was able to record independent video, but the audio was only recorded together on program, which means that I had both the keynote and I had the guest's audio married on the same channel, which severely limits you in terms of being able to manipulate the audio. And so the remote sound was kind of bass heavy, and the soundstage was crystal clear. So I couldn't really do too much about that, but we did end up having to kind of just live with it. Now, one of the cool things about some of this is I have now been able to play with the way that the program looks and doing color correcting with DaVinci, kind of like really jumping into it. And so there is a, this, what on earth? So there is a fair bit of, when you record, especially on these Blackmagic cameras, and then you import it to DaVinci, DaVinci understands the color depth of these cameras pretty well. And so here, I'm just going to show you. This was the one that we did in Michigan. But, Steve is on the right. He's wearing a black shirt with a black button down. And then we had a black background. And so we set up lights so that he could be lit correctly. But when I was in Washington, actually, the guy that we were filming there said, yeah, it just seemed a little dark when we saw it on the Sunday. And I absolutely agreed. And so here I've actually color balanced things better, where I've brought the Steve's picture up a fair bit more. And that way the contrast between him and the back is greater, but also giving making it just look a lot more balanced, especially compared to my keynote, who is on a properly lit soundstage. So we could kind of do what we could do here with Steve's image, but this looks a lot better than actually what it is that we even showed a couple of weeks ago on Sunday. So DaVinci, because of the Pocket 6 or the Pocket 4K cameras, we've got all sorts of data. And when I was in Washington and he mentioned, it seemed a little dark, I came back here and I was like, I need to look at that. I need to look at the waveforms. I need to do a deep dive on it. And sure enough, he was right. And so I did some editing, and now Steve looks a whole lot better. So we have, I've re-exported that. I have it as just the final file, but now I have a process going forward that's a little bit more in-depth than kind of what it is that we were doing before. So that's been really good. That's been a good way to change things around. Hey, what are you using for ISO audio field recording? Okay, so welcome, Jeremy. Welcome back. Good to see you. So ISO recording, I am using a couple of things. First and foremost, we're using a Rode Wireless Pro unit. Okay, they're about $250. You get 2 transmitters, 1 receiver. The transmitters on board have onboard recording. You press a button and it starts to record on the actual microphone itself. That is 32-bit. And so basically you have an unlimited ceiling. You're never going to overdrive that because it captures all of that audio in an almost infinite, if you will, audio space. And so you're never going to crush any of the highs. It's never going to kind of gain out on you. But also then that video comes back and we hit record on the camera. And that I have a little SSD. That is not 32-bit. That's 24-bit. That comes back to the receiver and goes into the camera, and then the camera goes into an SSD. That video and audio then get married together as an individual file on that file. But then I'm also sending the audio and video back via SDI. So HDMI converted into SDI out of the 4K Pocket into a Blackmagic biconverter. So in HDMI, right? So it's out HDMI of the camera, into the biconverter, out of the converter, SDI into the web presenter. So the web presenter is getting SDI video and audio, and that's being transmitted back to the soundstage to go in and out of a constellation. Actually, what it does is it comes to a streaming bridge. It goes in via Ethernet, right? Internet, and goes out via, this is insane, goes out SDI 2 ways, one to the constellation and one to a ISO Extreme, okay? SDI ISO Extreme from Blackmagic. And then that also goes out HDMI. And that goes up to a video assist that my sound guy now gets to use. And he gets to see and hear that audio raw on the SDI, or he gets to see program out as well, and so he can monitor the show from there. So I'll explain that one later. But anyways, goes to the streaming bridge, out SDI into a ISO Extreme SDI from Blackmagic. And so then we hit the record button and we record all channels on that ISO Extreme, and then those files get saved to an SSD, and then I can log into that computer, look at that SSD, and drag over any of the files that I want into Blackmagic Cloud. And then by the time I get back to my house, whether we're at the soundstage or I'm in Portland, by the time I get home, all of those files are sitting locally here in my office, and I can edit them all locally as well. So it's a lot if you were to just look at the overall, the overall plan for how this is all integrated. It seems like a mouthful. However, logically, it makes total sense, and I record the remote video 3 different ways, right? I record the audio 3 different ways and the video 2 different ways. So I record it locally and I send it back to the soundstage and I record it there for redundancy's sake, period. Because I'm not going to fly to Portland and not record it locally. I'm just not. There's no way I'm going to rely on everybody having fast internet or the interwebs working perfectly. We could fire up a StreamYard or something and get them talking and record it locally in both places and be good. But because I send it all back to the soundstage and we hit the big record button, which I totally need to get an X keys red button. That's the record button. That would be hilarious. Oh, let's look that up. That would be hilarious. X key, it's Pi Engineering, right? Pi Engineering. I just want a big giant red record button. But I want it to have LEDs to show that it's recording. Otherwise, I still got to program shop all X keys. Do they make the easy button anymore? Shop controls, series, accessories, switches and adapters, single button switches. Yes, there it is. For $40. Does it light up? I don't think it lights up. Oh, weird. And it's not USB. Okay, well anyway, maybe it does it have an LED in it? Sorry, I'm looking at it here. Look at this. I just want this like big red button is all I want. But does it have, I don't think it has an LED node in it. Interface for switch. Oh, I see. You got to buy one of these. That's boring. Shop switches. I just want a big button. Come on, man. Can't I have just a big button? Anyway, that would be fun. I do want to just get like a big easy button so that we can see it recording. Oh, there you go. USB 12 switch interface. So you have to buy the interface. That's kind of silly. By series, let's just shop, period. They have, it doesn't look like they have just like a big easy button. I want just like one big button that's that like we know it's recording. Or maybe I should get like a LED that says like a recording LED that when we press record, it lights up in the booth and we can look from around the room. All these like cool little signal things that we could come up with. I love those Wireless Pro units. Yeah, they're pretty awesome. I mean, and they're great for having backups. They're great for all sorts of things. So I'm a big fan of that. I demoed the Sennheiser profile. It was amazing. Never got to do an unboxing for you all. It's true. I miss doing on-site production stuff like this. I had some great equipment that I managed for shoots like this. Just set up my son's school with a Rodecaster video, and they just added NDI. It's such a nice system. Yeah, I saw that. BirdDog was sure to notify everyone that Rodecaster Video now does NDI, which I love that little thing. I think it would be great for interviews, but we are now beyond the auto switching thing, and I'm doing multi-channel ISO recording, and so I can't wait for that. I mean, I think the Rodecaster Video is a great product. I have not used it, but I really like the microphone threshold switching, auto switching feature. I think that's ideal for a lot of like run and gun single guys. But now for what we do, it doesn't make any sense. So I'd still like to use it. I'd like to conduct interviews, but a tally system? Yeah, basically. The Rode phone app also has dual NDI feeds from a phone. Oh, interesting. I built a rack with a 2ME Constellation and an ATM SDI ISO. My tour has separate streams and projection feeds, and I'm ISO recording all my cameras. Well done. Yes, I basically love the fact that I can just hit one button and all cameras get recorded. They're each, at the end of a 40, 50-minute thing, though, they're each multiple gigs, which is fine. I've got tons of space. That's not a concern. It's just a lot of data. So record what you need. Not necessarily useful at our levels of production, but it's such a neat addition. Agreed. It's a great, again, a lot of these like run and gun, interview guys, video podcasters, that's the one that I think that's going to hit the stride for them. And it means now that the NDI camera world now becomes incredibly useful. I am now in the market for an AI-controlled PTZ, or two, actually. But I don't know if I need it to be NDI. It would be nice to have that function, but I don't know if I need that. Funny part, only have PTZ Optics NDI cameras. Never got a BirdDog camera. PTZ Optics is not supported on the road. Oh, why? Why is it not supported on that? Apparently BirdDog is supported because they promoted it like the day it launched. That's some cold coffee. Anyway, so my trip to Portland was a massive success. I've already rendered that video, and I have actually even I can pull it up here. Actually, I'll just pull up the actual file because it's done. Did some color balancing this morning actually and re-rendered, because I will show this in QuickTime. Let me make this full screen. So this is the final, this is what the final video ended up looking like. This conversation between Patrick and my friend Josh. It's so funny, color balance. So I've changed over the years, right? Like I would just set my cameras based on what it looks like, what I think looks good. Now, I'm not trying to do that at all. I'm looking at the color data instead because you get far more consistent shots. Now, on the left, Patrick looks a little bit tanned, and that is just those. That's like the regular look at the soundstage, a little higher contrasty. But Josh on the right is like, I think it's like close to perfect. I did some serious work on that and got those colors to just look really nice. So I'm a big fan of the way that it turned out. I'll mute this here so we can just see the video going. And it's going to drop frames because this is actually a video feed coming over Chrome Remote Desktop. I guess I could fire this up. Let me see here if I can scan convert this and bring in a new picture. What on earth? Oh yeah, okay. Let me open Studio Monitor now. And I'll run this. But then Studio Monitor and that computer may not be on. Oh, bummer. How do I do this? Whatever. Anyways, it's the coloration that I was really excited about. I think I'm really happy with the way that this camera turned out, and I think it looks really nice. So I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of the way that turned out. And I'm looking forward to sharing that on Sunday. All right. Sony PTZs, hands down. Speaking of Bird Dog, your old support team has just had a great customer service moment for me. Oh, really? I sent in a P200 that was flickering and was unreliable. They replaced some of the guts and sent it back to me out of warranty for a paid service. Unfortunately, it wasn't actually fixed at all. So they shipped me a B-stock unit at no charge. Fantastic service. Oh, nice work with the frame and that little separate. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Bird Dog has I've been really happy with the way that they've taken the support stance since their first gen products have been end of life, we'll say. They're really trying hard to just make ends meet for the time being, for the foreseeable future, to keep those products alive and serviced, because cameras are one of those products that you buy it and you intend to use it for the next several years, right? It's not a throwaway product. So I've been really happy to see that they have parts. It sounds like they have parts, and it sounds like they're making a good effort to keep those products serviced, and that's good. That makes me feel good that they're taking care of their customers. I mean, they're good. There's good guys over there, especially at Bird Dog. Yeah, let me get that split screen up. I was pretty proud of that. I've got a system down now for the split screen stuff, because I wanted it to look, I wanted it to look finished. And so this is that split screen shot. I know this guy's in the way here. but I wanted it to look finished and intentional and everything. And so I made that little alpha channel the separator, and it just looks like intentional now, right? And I did that first for this video, but then I did it for for the one that we did in Michigan. I added that to this as well. So yeah, I think it looks really nice. A good way to get our logo and our name on there without it being too obtrusive, but still providing some separation between the two. So I'm happy with the way that turned out. I saw some demo stuff of their AI tracking, and my mind was blown. This is Sony PTZs. Hey, Bird Dog for the win. Yeah, Bird Dog did really well. Hey, yeah, I'm super happy with how all of it turned out. Good. Yeah, I do know that they're trying really hard to keep to like restore the Bird Dog brand. So that's good. I'm glad to see that happening, and it appears that there's a lot less support with Gen 2. So that's great with the second generation of cameras. It doesn't mean there's no support required, but having less is always good. So I'm relieved for my team, my former team, to have less burning fires overall, because Gen 1 was a challenge, to say the least. I mean, it was a challenge. So good stuff. So the Sony PTZ AI tracking, let's just take a peek and see what's out here. Is this the Sony Pro series that you're talking about? Yeah, the thing I don't care about Sony cameras is that I think they look not good. I think they look like fat little stormtroopers. That's what I think they look like, which is an X-Files reference, by the way. But I'm not a huge fan of the way they look. I think they look like a mistake. That's just me. It's my opinion, purely my opinion. Look, they've got the NDI certification, Cisco verified certification, Zoom certified, AVE Awards 2025, Best in Show 23. I mean, they're clearly doing something right. So the fact that it looks a little strange, that I don't feel like they look very intuitive, is besides the point. But check this guy out. That's cool. Auto framing is performed only within the predefined areas. Yeah, that's cool. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. What about two presenters? That's what I want to... I know I muted the sound here so that we can just watch this. Okay, the camera automatically switches the tracking subject to the presenter. When used with multi-person framing, it can track a group up to 8 people that enter the frame. Are you kidding me? All right, so now they're going to push it. All right. By presetting compositions such as full body, waist, and stand-up, it's possible to capture various forms of visual expression. Okay. Let's okay, Angus says, "Oh, and my replacement play unit has been performing much better than the first one." Oh, that's good. Oh, that poor anyway. No, not those models. I think more the BRC models. Okay. So let's go professional products, PTZs and remote cameras. And let's look for the BRC range. Okay, so these ones look better, honestly. I saw, which one did I see at NAB? It was a very pretty camera. I think it was the BR AM7 series. Auto framing functions. Multi-person framing. Okay, so let's go over here and take a look. This is the BRC AM7. Who knows how much this thing costs, but we will find out. Marker indicating. Let's go ahead and just blow this up. This function automatically tracks a group of people up to 8, including a primary subject and secondary subjects. Primary subject and the number of subjects can be changed while shooting. So track new primary subject. Until they leave the frame, and then she probably... oh. Never mind. I mean, this... the zooms and stuff, like this changes... like the cameraman needs, right? Okay, so what do we got? Face registration. Oh my goodness, seriously? Okay, so register the name. That's cool. Edit. Tracking priority. Oh, jeez. All right, so the group enters the room. Unregistered subjects will not be tracked even when they are in the frame. Oh my gosh. Registered subject automatically detects and starts tracking. My goodness. Oh my goodness. Camera will return to a starting position and retracts face registration when the subject is lost. Or tracked unregistered subject. All right, so she's back, and then we see her face again. So what's the story here? Okay, so she enters the frame, it zooms in, she walks out, it moves out. Did she walk back into the frame? Is that what happened? It's possible to capture various, for example, when a vocalist stands in front of the microphone. I think you're having a dropout. Uh-oh. Hold on. Did the stream die? It says excellent connection. But you're right. It does appear. Oh, I'm back? Okay. It's strange, guys. I'm not too sure. What? Yeah, you're right. It did definitely dropped off. I did not get an error. No error in... oh. No error inside of Femix. Let's look here. Full screen dropped. Yeah, but there are dropouts here. Why didn't I get a warning? That's weird. I'm not too sure what happened there, guys. Okay. Anyway, so this is pretty stinking cool. And the fact that you can register faces, I mean, that works great for churches because you're going to have the same people on stage, like ministers or worship leaders or whatever. So that's pretty cool. Pretty wild that it's getting there, you know. I saw the Sony cameras at NAB and I was very impressed by the tracking. Yeah, I guess I was at the Canon booth when I saw mine. So Canon tracking, it was also very cool. That framing demo is impressive. If it performs that well in real life, I might be tempted. They're working on configuring the leading on the subject so you can set a more natural leading as the presenter is walking back and forth. That's good. Hey, that's pretty neat. And then here I am. You died out. No, I'm here. I promise. Hey, you're back. Hey, we got you back. You were streaming Sony copyrighted content. Yeah, I guess so. They shut you down. Yeah, maybe. I was excitedly sharing. My lip sync is off? What on earth is going on here? This is frustrating. All right, let me look at my feed. Nope, my lip sync is good on my phone. So maybe refresh the stream and see if it lines up again for you. I have no idea what is happening, but this has been wild for some reason. It must be 30, 40 minutes here, so maybe I switched satellites and that caused me to drop. Anyway, so we are definitely looking at PTZs and in particular AI tracking ones because the pantograph is working, as you may remember, and the I got that working with the DMX system, and so now I just need cams. I need another camera on a pantograph, and I want to sell the PTZs that we have and just enable this AI tracking stuff, and then we would have all sorts of options. I might forego the second pantograph and put just one camera at the back to do like following, like we just witnessed. The issue is that I want it at eye level. I'm a big proponent of making sure your camera is at the level of your eyeballs, and that's why we have the pantograph, because we bring it all the way down to where our talent who's standing on stage, and then you can look right at them. Now it's a little close where the pantograph is right now, but it's a great little third shot. Like it's a great something we can mix in, and that's easier. But yes, I'm like, okay, the next thing I want is actually another manned camera, which is going to be a bit of an investment and work to get integrated. But once I have 3 camera ops, actually this AI tracking thing is kind of tempting. Again, though, the issue is where do you mount it? I want to mount it in a place potentially at the back of the room that could do follow, but I have camera ops at the back of the room that can do follow. So I don't know. I don't know what makes more sense. As long as it feels natural follow, that's more of my concern. And I have the luxury of having camera operators, and so I don't necessarily, that leaves it open for mistakes, but it also leaves it open for, like, it's not going to randomly zoom off in a direction that I don't want it to do, which we had those issues in the early days, right? So I don't know. I don't know which way to go. I think I am in the realm of upgrading cameras, upgrading my PTZs at least, and if I'm going to do that, I'd rather sell 2 and get one really nice one, or sell, I don't know what I want to do. It's just about having diversity. And since we have a production studio, it makes sense to do something like that where manned cameras, I've already got manned cameras, so I could buy another, high caliber one and get another 6K sensor and a really nice lens for it. We actually saw a motorized lens at NAB at the Canon booth and played around with that a lot, which would be compatible with our Blackmagic cameras. It's EF lens. And honestly, then we buy a new camera and buy that lens and put that lens on Cam 1. And then you have the luxury of zooming in and zooming out with the hand controls instead of having to reach around and adjust your zoom manually, which is what we're currently doing. So baby steps over the next little while. We are going back, confirmed with my coworker that we're headed back to NAB. So I've started making a list of things that we want to see and talk about and consider. And that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to spend at least the same amount of time there next year as we did this year, maybe an extra day, just because we left and had a good amount, and by the second last day, things are winding down. So, I don't know if it's worth staying the extra night to really shut it down. And we had seen everything that we really wanted to see. So, now that we're going for the second time, we will have probably more to look at. I'm interested in seeing more stuff. But, it'll be good to go back and then get more ideas as to what's next. So I really want to continue down this road of upping our game with video quality. And one of those things is going to be integrating the Blackmagic green screen technology, but doing it in a way that, let me pull up their website, Blackmagic products. the Ultimate product, excuse me, the Ultimate product, which is kind of like the next, not the next. It's a big. We're going to be having a big investment on this in the next 2 years, probably. And what this will give us is the ability to green screen our lessons and then put our speakers in live environments anywhere in the world. And what we'll end up doing, and I've explained this before, but we'll have a green screen studio set up with lights and microphones and everything. And then our keynotes will be able to record, hit a big record button, record their lesson on the camera, and then, or on the hyperdeck actually, and then then I can marry it together with an Ultimate system and put this, you run their image on one and you run the background on a second. But then I can go around and record backgrounds with the same lighting that we're using in the green screen studio. And so you buy double of everything basically. And then you have to get the same cameras, the same lenses, you got to get the same everything. But then if you have a green screen, you can, and part of it is just, what I really want is I want the streaming, I want the quality of our videos to be something that no one else is really doing, but to make it unique and really visually engaging. But I don't necessarily want to have to fly my video talent out to all these interesting places. I would rather take it on the road with me and videotape these places and then, and then be able to produce this content fairly lightweight. So the investment up front would be pretty heavy, but this is basically a way to do live backgrounds, because you can record the live backgrounds. You record for like an hour, and all you do logically, all you would do is you set up the green screen studio and you measure your distance to your lights, and you make sure your lighting is the same, all your settings are the same, everything is the same. And then you take all those settings and you go to your on location and you record a background. But what you do is you put a chair down and you focus on the subject and you make sure your distance is the same. And again, your lighting is the same. But then you just hit record and you record for an hour. And as the sun sets in the background, or as the traffic's driving by outside, or whatever it is, you record that background for an hour without a subject. And then you take that background and you take your green screen lesson and you merge them together. And then it looks like that person is sitting there. Well, you build a library over time. And we'll start with some closed studio ideas, like, for example, a library or, whatever. But then we can expand out into conference rooms or, I don't know, hotel lobbies, or I don't know what we'll do. But all we got to do is record the visuals. You don't have to record any audio. So you can go to places and record the visuals, and then you can constantly be creating content in your green screen studio. So I'm pretty excited about this. I think this is one of those offerings nobody's really doing. Nobody's really, especially in the video religious world, no one is going to this level. And so I'm very interested to know if what sort of level of product we can produce, what content we can produce, and how engaging we can make it. So anyway, there's that. I don't know, the Ultimate 12 HD chroma keyer in an affordable HD model, full Ultimate 12 quality. Processing gives you next-gen edge handling, amazing color separation, better spill protection, most advanced keyer. So, like, what's the difference, though, between, what's the difference between this guy and this guy? Why is it twice the price, first of all? And then when you bump up to 4K, why, again, edge handling, color separation, 12G. I don't know. I don't know why you would I don't know, and that's, I guess, the question I'm asking is these products, Ultimate 12 HD, Mini, Ultimate 12 HD, and then there's the 12 4K and the 12 8K. I guess the question I have this year at NAB is why would I, if I'm exporting everything in 1080p for streaming purposes, why would I go 4K? Other than future proofing, I guess, but is it really worth twice the price? Especially when you can, it's not even twice the price. This is 1/4 the price if you just get into the HD game just to see if you want to do it, right? Just to see if you can do it. I don't know. It seems like a big investment. All right, sorry. I will jump back here to the chat. Hey, why are you drinking cold coffee when you have an Ember mug? Great question. And I just didn't grab it. So, hey, I got to jump. Hey, thanks for all this, John. Jeremy, always a pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Always good to see you, buddy. And that's probably a good cue. It is 11:30. We have talked about all the things I wanted to and more. So hopefully you guys are having a great week. I'm back from Portland. I'm not planning on traveling anytime soon. I am planning on hopefully having my garage built in the next couple of weeks. And then once the garage is built, then we're going to start talking about office construction, and we're going to talk about new studio and all that jazz. So let's see what's going to happen. It is Thursday. I'm going to call them again tomorrow, see where we're at on things. But hoping that will happen. Oh, yeah, yesterday was my birthday. I totally forgot about that. You don't need to say happy birthday. But yesterday was my birthday, and had a really awesome. My wife went in with my brother and sister and bought me a new backpack because I've been using an Amazon Basics bag for like 15 years. It's a Patagonia bag. So they pooled their money together, got me a Patagonia bag, which is a lifetime guarantee. And it's going to hold my laptop, and it's going to be my new travel buddy. So I love that bag. I saw it in a store and was like, man, this thing is so nice, but it's way too expensive. So I did not buy it for myself. And then my wife saw that and decided to get it for me. So that was super sweet of her, and I'm so excited to go on a trip and take my new bag. So that'll be great. Looking forward to that day. All right, folks, I will let you go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Always a pleasure. And we will see you guys next week. Now, next week, we had another show, right, set up for next week. And if I was just going to go over here and take a little look. Next week, I might talk about the multi-channel recording, but we kind of did that today. So I'm probably going to come up with something else because we covered that in today's stuff. So join me next week, Thursday, right here, 10 o'clock Central Time in the U.S. And if you're watching after the fact, thanks. Join me if you can, if you're live. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Always appreciate that. And we will see you guys in the next one. Take care of yourselves and be well. Looking forward to hanging out again. Bye, guys.